if you double your customer base, you can't necessarily double the number of trained, qualified support agents who can be there to provide personalized support.
Hello and welcome to a whole new episode of Engati CX. I'm your host, Jeremy D'Souza, and today we have a rather interesting guest with us. Today is going to be all about data science. But before I introduce you to our wonderful, amazing guest, allow me to quickly introduce you to the magic of Engati. Engati is the world's leading multilingual no-code chatbot platform available across 14 channels with more than 30,000 bots created across 186 countries in every domain and use case. Engati has also been recognized as a top platform by Inc.com, TechWorld, CIO, and many others. We run the Engati blog, the video channel, and the Engati CX podcast, receiving upwards of 300,000 visitors annually. And now for our amazing guest. Ed Wiley is a high-visibility senior executive with over 20 years of building, leading, and advising world-class machine learning, AI, and data science teams at companies at stages from startups to Fortune 500s. An active member of the AI and data science communities, Ed regularly presents at national and international conferences, workshops, and has been named a top big data pro to follow on Twitter. Ed, we are really, really thrilled to have you here with us today. This promises to be an exciting interview.
Yes, I'm excited to be here as well. Thank you for having me.
Okay, and before we get started with this interview, before we get all these amazing insights from Ed, let me just tell you that we have something special for all of you. And you stick around to the end of the interview and you will get a free gift from all of us. Ed, let's dive into this. Okay. So Ed, my first question to you is that this decade, it's all about AI and data science. With more and more data coming in, what advancements should we expect to see in data science?
You know, there are a lot of different directions that are very exciting today. They're just continuing growth in compute and storage and the availability of cloud resources that bring the machine learning and data science technologies to the end user without requiring large departments of professionals to support. That's always exciting, and I see that bringing data science to the masses. Two very specific things that I see going on in the current AI and data science world. One, it is now that you can't but notice all of the efforts that have grown over the last 6 months in response to the pandemic. So COVID and the global pandemic have shifted a lot of interest into areas of drug discovery and disease detection techniques. So in the data science and AI worlds, that means that we're seeing more and more interest than ever in things like image-based disease detection, video-based disease detection, image and video capture for things like indicators of whether you may be harboring the disease. So are you wearing a mask? There's all kinds of automated technology that all of a sudden has been focused into alleviating some of the problems around COVID and our social distancing world, as well as drug discovery. So I'm actually the CTO of a startup that is involved in drug discovery, and we are using new methods to think about ways of addressing issues around COVID and around a variety of different diseases. Every day we talk about COVID. So just as it has pervaded every single part of the world, so too has AI and data science seen a bit of a shift and a focusing in of the data science and AI communities towards developing new technologies that will help in various ways in the pandemic. Mm-hmm. There's a second area that is less focused on the pandemic, but nevertheless a growing area that I am very interested in, and that's graph and network-based methods for data science. We think and represent our knowledge, the knowledge structures in our brain in a way that's different from your typical relational database. We think of things as linked concepts, and there's relationships between those concepts. And those are best represented using a network, a graph-based system of representing those. And so now the data science world is seeing that and evolving methods like neural net methods, deep learning, all kinds of different machine learning techniques that have been used on structured data and getting into ways of applying those towards graph methods. And so that's an area that's also very exciting to me.
Absolutely. That sounds really, really interesting. Ed, my next question to you is, which industry do you think is actually going to benefit the most from tech and data and all the new advancements which we are getting? What are the new opportunities that lie ahead, and which industries might just cease to exist?
Sure. So, first, following on that first question that you asked, I think an industry that's ripe for exploitation and advantage for tech and data is healthcare and drug discovery, in part because of the global necessity right now. So I think we will look back in 5 years and see massive changes in the way that we do things along the lines of delivering healthcare all the way to discovering new treatments. So my previous role was as vice president of machine learning at a telehealth company, Neurex. And that telehealth company is one that has seen great growth now in the need during times of social distancing to offer healthcare services at the point at which the patient actually is. So as we evolve through this global pandemic, I think you'll see massive changes that are enabled by tech and data science and artificial intelligence in healthcare and also, as I had mentioned, in drug discovery. A second area that is transformative that Engati knows a lot about is in customer support services. So ways of addressing the needs of your customers as your product offering scales, it's no longer possible or feasible sometimes to scale linearly your individual support departments. So if you double your customer base, you can't necessarily double the number of trained, qualified support agents who can be there to provide personalized support. Yeah. So I think some sort of AI-based automation and delivery of information to the customers and clients that need it most without involving a person as a bottleneck, I think that's another area that is really going to hit virtually every B2C enterprise that is out there. Those services.
And even if you do manage to grow your employee base a little bit, you can't manage to scale it up to keep the pace with the growth in your customers, right?
Right. And nor does everybody need a personalized response to every single question. 80% of the questions that come in often are those that have been addressed before. Yeah. So, and require pretty standard answers. So while we may have been trained through time to expect a person to respond to us, that's no longer going to be the norm as the availability for automated services really grows and those services get enhanced in their technical capabilities.
Certainly, and we're not even looking for a person to answer our questions. We're just looking for an answer to the question. We don't necessarily want it from a human.
Right. What's interesting is the younger generation sometimes prefers not interacting with a human. My daughter's phone will ring and she'll look at it strange and doesn't really know what to do with that. She's used to text and asynchronous communication. And so asynchronous communication, as that becomes the accepted norm for ways of getting information from companies that you work with, I think is just going to increase the proliferation and improvements in technology and in support services like chatbots. Yes. A third area, I think we're going to see a lot of uptake in data science in those industries that have less uptake at this point. So if you look at financial services, for example, and high tech, data science is all over in those fields. If you then, on the other hand, look at things like travel and tourism or building materials, construction, professional services, education, those have seen some introduction of technological services and AI and data science, but I think they're really ripe to adopt an even greater level. So I see those industries really growing in their technical capabilities over the next, half a decade.
Absolutely. That's really interesting. It's really, really interesting. Ed, my next question to you is, do you think that with the infusion of artificial intelligence and of machine learning, augmented analytics will actually be able to deliver relatively better insights?
Absolutely. So for those who might not be familiar, augmented analytics is taking essentially the value chain of data science and infusing machine learning and analytics at all the different places. So historically, like when I was trained to do machine learning, everything was a manual step, from data access to curation of that data, to cleaning of that data, to ETL pipelines, to initial model building, all the way to the end in developing visualizations for that data. All of those were manual processes. So I see this really as providing a step change in the growth of where analytics can be infused, because just like managed services and cloud providers opens up data science and machine learning to the masses, so will this open up and increase the efficiency with which people can go about their data science work.
Absolutely. Totally agree with that. Ed, going forward, do you think that conversational agents, in addition to the fact that we said they'll be really helpful to the customer, do you think that automated conversational agents will actually help us to get a greater amount of customer data?
I think there's a real opportunity for agents to be on the data collection side as well. Mm-hmm. So there's been such an explosion in the quality of natural language processing techniques. And as those techniques become smarter and more nuanced and being able to pick up contextual information and really understand the intent behind messages that are generated by a customer and given to a company and are part of that interaction with an automated agent, I think you have a real opportunity. In fact, one of my previous companies used an automated a conversational agent as the first response for customers who were coming in and asking questions. And a big part of that was collecting that information, all of the information that's embedded in a conversation with an automated agent, and then using that as part of understanding the customer journey. I mean, anyone who understands their customer journey to great levels of nuance is just in much better place competitively against competitors in order to serve those customers. So I think there's a tremendous opportunity.
I certainly agree with you, Ed. Are there any other thoughts that you'd like to leave with our audience?
The main other thoughts have less to do with the science of data science and AI and more with the human capital part of data science and AI. So another thing I see that I really hope to see over the next 5 years is the population of data science really changing. So I want to see more people from underrepresented backgrounds in the world of data science. I want to see more women in data science. Yeah. People who haven't necessarily had access to this sort of educational and career experiences that would develop into a route for data science, nonetheless have great perspectives that they can add. So if there's one more place where I feel like there's going to be a transformative change in the field, I feel like it's going to be in the talent base. And it's really incumbent upon leaders like us today in order to create those opportunities for people who haven't necessarily had the traditional path through maybe a quantitative PhD to get into data science. Yeah. Let's think about the alternatives coming in, because I have seen one of my the people who's one of my best data scientists, I brought him to 3 different organizations now, was actually a music major, classically trained musician who picked up software development on the side. Perfect example of someone who normally would fall through the cracks, but has been a tremendous contributor in my data science work. So I see the field really changing in that way as well. And I guess I would present this challenge to other leaders to continue that trend and open up the field to be more accessible to people of all backgrounds.
Certainly, I definitely agree to that. And one major benefit which I see from that is that now with people from different backgrounds coming into data science, you're going to get new perspectives. You're going to get people who are connecting things that previously data scientists wouldn't have connected. I mean, your data scientist who had a musical background, he's probably got some really good insights from there, which you could bring in here, right?
Right. That's absolutely true. And you don't come up with creative ideas if you have the exact same background among all your people. So I love that. I value that different perspective tremendously. People who are interested and have some fluency with quantitative techniques and quantitative concepts, they can pick up data science. It is a deep background that's very different that's going to generate a different perspective.
Okay, Ed, this has been a really, really riveting conversation. You had my attention the entire time, and I'm sure the audience was definitely engrossed. Since all of you guys have stuck around so long, we'd like to inform you that our ebook, The Evolution of Customer Experience, it's out. It's available for all of you all to download for free. Hit the link in the description. You'll find it. Ed, they know where to find the book. Where can they find you? Where can they reach out to you?
So I am very active on LinkedIn and Twitter. You can find me under @WileyEd on Twitter, and then just Ed Wiley PhD in LinkedIn. I post on machine learning, data science, and startup world. I also have a book coming out in a month. I'll plug the book. It's about bringing AI to the enterprise. It's called AI from Buzzword to Business Function. And I also have a course that will become live on Udacity here in a month that's data science for business leaders. So drop me a line on LinkedIn or Twitter. I would love to hear from you.
You heard it. Wiley Ed at Twitter, Ed Wiley PhD on LinkedIn. And if you're interested in getting into data science, well, you can add a bit of your interesting background. Check out his course on Udacity. Guys, this has been amazing. You know that Engati CX will definitely be back really soon with a new episode and a new expert. You know that now. So stay tuned, guys. We'll see you in the next one.
Thank you much.